Hey guys, I'm Brogan, and today in this video we're going to jump into what could quite possibly be the coolest and maybe even best product that I've ever reviewed here on the channel. We're jumping in and checking out the RS3 Reaper light gun from Retro Shooters. So Retro Shooters has been around for a couple of years now. They put out a pair of light gun pistols followed by a machine gun. Now the pistols I reviewed in the past, they were great. They were relatively inexpensive, high quality. The only downside was I personally felt like there was a slight lag from when you pulled the trigger to when you got your recoil, and the recoil sound, it almost sounded like it was being compressed a little bit. It felt like it was, I don't know, it almost felt like you were underwater. It was like a whoosh, whoosh sort of sound to it. It wasn't just like this right here, which, let's pull the trigger. As soon as you engage that trigger, you get your recoil. This reminds me, not just in the design, but also in the action of the recoil, just like that of the Time Crisis light gun. Now, I'm a huge fan of Time Crisis. In fact, it's one of my all-time favorite light gun games ever. And what I love most about it is exactly what I think most people loved about it. And that was the recoil action on the actual gun. I remember that even when I would die in the game and it would count down, you know, until you could put more credits in and continue on. You could still play around with this. You could shoot on screen. So it's just one of my memories. The recoil was the coolest thing, and I believe that's exactly what we have here. 24-volt solenoid inside the Reaper, just like that of the Time Crisis gun. So I am instantly a fan of this. Hopefully it pans out when we actually jump into games, but so far so good here. Let's take a closer look at some of the features here though. All right, so here is the gun, and you can see on here we have, first off, a button right here on the handle. Trigger's located right here. You can see that recoil in action every time I pull the trigger. Now, you'll also notice the lights on here. We have a bunch of different colors, almost kind of like a rainbow that comes in here as soon as we engage the trigger. Starts back here with blue, ends up here with white. Now, if we hold down, this is a joystick right here, which you can navigate. I believe you can navigate a menu screen with this. We also have a button function in here as well. So if we hold this down, just engaging the button function, we're going to switch out the colors here. So now if we engage the trigger, notice that it's a gold color. Now, I actually like the different color variation, so I'm going to go back to that, just simply holding the button in. And we are back to what starts with blue and ends with white over here. So really like that. We have two buttons over here. So if you're playing a game like Time Crisis where you're not using your pedal, you can actually use these buttons here to crouch, which actually doubles as your reload function in that game. And you can also, you know, let it go to, you know, be available on screen to where you would be able to shoot, you know, your enemies. So love that on here. We have those different buttons that, you know, could be used in different games, especially with emulation differently. Now, if we flip this over to the other side, we have our lights over here as well. So again, you'll see how all of that populates in as we engage the trigger. But we also have this slider right here. This is your settings for your gun. So currently, this is pushed all the way forward, making this your single shot mode. So every time I pull the trigger, your recoil gets enabled and your shot is fired. We see that register with the LED lights as well as with the recoil. Now we can go into the middle setting by simply sliding the slider down to the middle position. This is going to mute your gun. So now you're not going to get recoil. You're not going to get any sounds from this other than, you know, a little bit of sound from the trigger. You can see the shots are registering with the LED lights, but you have no recoil, so it's totally muted. So this would be great if you're playing at like 2 in the morning. I have 3 kids, so if I'm trying to keep it down here, I don't want anybody waking up, I don't want my wife yelling at me, I'm going to mute the gun and I'll have it in that middle position. Now if we slide the slider all the way down towards the actual handle of the gun, now you are in automatic mode. So that's basically turning your pistol into a machine gun. So watch as I pull the trigger now. And because we have that 24-volt solenoid in here, we have great action on the actual recoil slide. Now, one difference from this and the Time Crisis gun is you have shorter action up here. If you go back and you take a look at the Time Crisis gun, the slide actually moves quite a bit more on the original Time Crisis than it does here. I actually like the shorter motion because it's a little bit more in sync with, you know, your shots. You'll see that obviously if there's a shorter distance, it's going to react much quicker than if it has a longer distance to go back and forth. So you'll notice it more here as you're, you know, firing at a quicker pace. I think if it was a longer action, it would just take much longer. Now, the final feature here is going to be your magazine reload button down here. So if you were out of bullets, let's say I have 4 bullets in here, I'm out of bullets now, I can simply tap the magazine button at the bottom there and reload. Also, of course, games that enable it, you can shoot off screen to reload, but this is an added feature where, you have that button, functionality to actually reload with. So definitely like that. It's very easy to actually enable that. Love the LED lights up here as well. Now, this is also compatible with MAME Hooker. So you can bring MAME Hooker into the mix on your PC, and you would be able to utilize the rumble that's built into the handle here, and a bunch of different features that honestly I'm not super well versed in, because I've found MAME Hooker to be a little bit of a pain to set up, but they will be providing, they being Retro Shooter, will be providing you with instructions on how to get this up and running with MAME Hooker, and a couple different ways that you can use that. It basically will go ahead and make your experience with this gun a little bit more interactive. It'll immerse you in the experience a little bit more. So instead of, every time you pull your trigger, you having recoil here when it's enabled, MAME Hooker will enable it so when you run out of bullets, say you have 4 shots, 1, 2, 3, 4, your recoil is now going to be disabled because you're out of bullets. So now when you pull the trigger, it's going to be like you're in that middle mode. It's not going to register anymore. You're not going to get any sort of interaction with the gun because you're out of bullets. So you'd have to go ahead and reload or shoot off screen. And now it would basically bring you back to this mode where you have recoil again because you have bullets in your gun. So you don't have to switch between modes. I'm just doing that for the demo of what I'm explaining. But with MAME Hooker, all of that would be kind of built into your experience here. So definitely very cool. You also would feel shots, like if you're taking damage, because you have the rumble built into your handle here, you would feel the shots. So say I'm getting shot 2 times, this would rumble right from the handle here, making you feel the impact of those shots that you're taking. So very cool way to definitely, immerse yourself in the light gun experience. But let's go ahead and dive in here and test this out in some games. Alright guys, I had a blast diving into the RS3 Reaper light gun from Retro Shooter. This is my all-time favorite light gun out there on the market today. I'm not just saying it because it's the latest and greatest. I'm saying it because it looks cool, it feels great, and the intensity on that recoil is top-notch, reminding me exactly of that of the Time Crisis light gun. Now, the only difference is the action is a little bit shorter, but it gives you a better intensity in my opinion. There's no lag or delay. When you pull the trigger, you feel it engage right away. And in automatic mode, it stays consistent. Take a look at this. No matter how long I hold this, it stays just as intense as the first squeeze of the trigger. It doesn't trail off in intensity, which is an issue that I have had with the Gun for IR light guns. Those, you'll pull the trigger, it starts real clicky, real intense, and it quickly goes downhill until you let off the trigger and then squeeze it again, and then it goes back up, it starts intense and slowly trails off. This stays consistent from top to bottom. There's no issues here. The other cool thing is that we have the joystick on the right hand side with the button function. The button function is going to change the LED light color on the sides of your barrel. But with the joystick here that you can maneuver with, you can go up and down in your menu options, which is really cool. I used the Chris Cool Mod light gun build today to demo everything. Because that has the Retro Shooter software built into it, this is pretty much plug and play. So I'm simply upgrading from the original Retro Shooter light guns. So if you are upgrading, you can just go ahead and get 2 guns from Retro Shooter. You don't have to get the IR sensors and all that stuff. The way those work is you have 1 on each corner of your TV screen, and then they wire into, I have the little central hub that everything comes into, and then from that you connect it over to your PC. I find that that makes life so much easier to just have 1 USB connection rather than, you know, multiple, but you don't have to use that hub if you don't want to. There's a bunch of different purchase options from Retro Shooter for this gun. You can get 2 guns. You can get 2 guns with all your IR sensors. You can get 2 guns with a little game console that has some light gun games built into it, so you don't have to worry about integrating in, you know, your own classic arcade games like I did today. There's an option for everybody out there. I'm not going to quote prices because prices do fluctuate, but I'll provide you guys with a link at the top of your screen as well as in the description of this video. The fact that this also is compatible with MAME Hooker is going to be a home run for a lot of people that like that experience. You have the rumble built into the actual handle of the gun. You also have the lights here on the side. You have the recoil. All of that can be tied directly into your gaming experience thanks to MAME Hooker. So love the compatibility here. Love the feel of this. I also love the little button right here that lines up perfectly with your middle finger when you're holding this, as long as you're right-handed. But really a great option. I like the different modes in here, and they're consistent. The great action on here, it's phenomenal. Now, another really cool thing that you can bring into the mix here, it's not provided for you, but you can get a fisheye lens like I have right here. Simply thread that into the end of your light gun, and it's going to make a big difference if you're in close proximity to your TV screen, or if you have a very large TV screen like I do, 75 inches, and there's only so far I can get away from it. I'm only about 5 feet away, so I find that the fisheye lens makes a big difference. It makes it more accurate, makes you track better on screen if you have a bigger screen like that. And again, I'm only about 5 feet away from it. The furthest I can get away from it is about 7 to 8 feet, and it makes a bigger difference if you are further away. But sometimes, you know, people are in limited space, they're in smaller areas, and the fisheye lens makes a huge difference for tracking and accuracy in those situations. So the fact that you can just simply thread that right in there makes a huge difference on here. There's a lot of light guns out there where that's not an option. You don't have the ability to just take a, you know, fisheye lens from a third party and bring that into the experience on the light gun. But you can here with Retro Shooter, so kudos to them for making that possible. Now, big fan here. You guys can pick this up a bunch of different ways. There's going to be a link in the top of your screen right here, as well as in the description of this video. You can see the different options. This will be available to everybody very soon here. And if you're watching this, you know, a couple weeks out from when I release the video, it's probably already available to you guys. So click the link at the top of your screen as well as in the description of this video. But let me know what you guys think of the RS3 Reaper light gun from Retro Shooter in the comments of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys know the deal. Thumbs up on the video on your way out, and of course hit subscribe to stay in the loop for all future videos right here on the Chase Brogan YouTube channel. And if you like wrestling, check out the Marcus Buff Bagwell YouTube channel, which I produce for Marcus. So lots of great content over there as well. Thank you guys so much for your time. I'll see you on the next one.